Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very clear on the backside of the sun, and then the earth is rotated, the sun is hitting, the earth is rotating around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name's Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome you to the Emergency Management Associates Network. Thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to start off tonight with the singing of the United States National Anthem. Would everybody please rise? As we would say in the military, two. We want to thank the United States Army Band for allowing us to show that rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. God bless you, soldiers of the U.S. military. God bless you wherever you might be around the globe, and also our allied forces, wherever they might be, in support of the United States and protecting their own countries. God bless you all. May you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. And thank you all for your service. Thank you so very much. Anyway, folks, we've got a lot to show you and a lot to talk to you about tonight. First off, just either right before we were going to get off the air last night or right after we got off the air, there was a 4.1 magnitude earthquake just northwest of Reno, Nevada. This got a lot of people, pardon the pun, and I don't think it's going to be a pun, it's the truth, they got a little bit shaken up. And it was not from an Elvis song. This was a 4.1 magnitude earthquake, came out as a 3.9, and it got upgraded to a 4.1. This was, Reno, Nevada is approximately 13.8 kilometers southeast of where that earthquake hit. This was literally right next door to Reno. And folks, I just wanted to put this up so you could see the kind of shaking that happened. One person that was approximately 13 miles away said literally weak shaking. A single vertical bump, very short. If you remember me telling you the story last night of my 5.6, 5.7 earthquake in Lakeside, California, that Sunday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning that I talked about, it was a vertical bump. It threw me up into the air, came back down, and let me fall onto the floor. It was a vertical bump. Okay? Another person said light shaking. Someone else said light shaking, weak shaking, like a magnitude 3. One other person said felt one big shake on my 3rd floor apartment. Someone else that was even further away from the epicenter said very weak shaking, magnitude 2. Someone else that was 16.6 kilometers away from that 4.1 earthquake said a horizontal sideways swinging. A horizontal sideways swinging. Okay? That earthquake that I felt in California, that I described to you last night, it was a vertical bump, and then there was a sideways shaking that literally threw me on the floor. It threw me up in the air, then the bed moved, and I fell. Okay? Someone else said, laying on the couch, heard a crack sound from the porch. Then I felt a slight jiggle for about a second or two break, and then another weaker jiggle for less than a second. Somebody up in Cold Springs, which was near the epicenter, said weak shaking, magnitude 1 to 3, both vertical and horizontal swinging. Someone in Reno, fairly distant from the quake, about 22, 23 miles southeast of the shake. Very weak shaking, magnitude 1 to 2. Horizontal sideways swinging. Somebody that was even closer said light shaking, magnitude 1 to 4. 1 to 4. And then I cut off the other person from Reno, Nevada. Folks, that shook a lot of people up, and rightly so. It was a decent enough earthquake. A 4.1, folks, is a moderate earthquake. A moderate earthquake. And it's a light moderate. 4.0 to 4.9 constitute moderate earthquakes. This was the lowest side of the moderate quakes. So yes, when people said weaker shaking, that's what it was. A weaker shaking than you'd normally have if it was a 4.5 or 4.9. Okay, that's what happened there. Now I want to show you something else that I found today. Over in Turkey, look at all these quakes in Turkey. Okay, it says 50 plus earthquakes in Turkey there. Okay, in reality there was 106 earthquakes. 106 earthquakes there. Let me do this. Let me do this. I want to show you something. Okay, I'm going to take it from the 50 there, and I'm going to take it and show you a lot more earthquakes. Look at that. And I went from those 10 plus and those two 20 plus circles, and I extended those out. There was a total of 106 earthquakes there. In Turkey, along the same Anatolian fault where the 9.0 to 10.0 magnitude earthquake hit. Yes, it could have been as little as an 8.0, which is still a very, very major earthquake. It could have been even upwards of a 10.0. My gosh, it opened up a fissure 14 miles long and 18 stories deep. And you can still see the shaking. You can still see the shaking. That was today. Okay, now I want to show you something else. I'm going to leave that alone right now, and I'm going to show you the USGS map. This is going to be embarrassing in just a minute. Okay, what you're seeing are the major earthquakes, and I'm not saying 7.0, 8.0, 10.0. These are the bigger earthquakes that hit in the South Pacific today. Okay, let me show you this. Let me enlarge this just a little bit. This one over here is over in Tonga. Okay, this is over near the capital of Tonga, 122 miles southwest of Huma, Tonga. That Huma is not the capital. Hihifo is. But this is even further south. This is one of the largest earthquakes today. This is a large 5.1 earthquake. This is also 49 kilometers deep. A fairly shallow quake. North and west. This is Levuka, Fiji. This is a moderate 4.6. None of these earthquakes hit land masses, guys. Any of the seismic energy here was absorbed by the waters of the Pacific Ocean. We go south and further west. The Loyalty Islands, guys. This is a 4.9, 5.0 in the Loyalty Islands. Now I'm going to show you this one. This one is at least a 5.0 earthquake, probably larger, in the same location today. An aftershock of a 7.4 magnitude earthquake that hit down here in the Loyalty Islands just about a month ago. Okay, this one is 6.2 kilometers deep. I'm sorry, not kilometers, 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Okay, still a fairly shallow quake, an aftershock of that major earthquake. We go northwest here. This is Port Vila, Vanuatu. This is a moderate 4.8 magnitude earthquake. This is also 20 kilometers deep. I'm sorry, no, 20 miles deep. My bad. We go further northwest. This is in the Solomon Islands. Remember, we had a very strong 6 here just not too long ago here. Solomon Islands. This is 47 miles deep. Still a fairly shallow quake. Papua New Guinea. This is also a 4.8 earthquake. This is 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 kilometers deep, or 6.2 miles deep. Boy, am I getting that foobarred. We go further west. Okay, this is in Babar, central Indonesia. This is a 4.4, just barely northwest of there. A 4.5 here in Timor-Leste, Indonesia. This is a very deep quake, 223 miles deep. 226 miles deep. Okay? Notice how close together these quakes are. One, very shallow. This one, very deep. We go further northwest here. This is still Gorontalo, Indonesia. This is a moderate 4.4. This is only 58 miles deep. We go north again up to Mindanao Island, Philippines. They call this actually Sarangana, Philippines, just south of Mindanao Island. This is a 4.6 quake, 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. We go west. Bato, Philippines. A 4.6 moderate quake here. This one is just barely 16 miles deep. Still a fairly shallow quake. Then we go southwest here, over here to Bengkulu, Indonesia. Bengkulu, Indonesia here. Okay? This is a 4.3, 32 miles deep. We go further north. And this is one of the biggest earthquake places down here in Indonesia. This is a 4.8 magnitude quake, moderate quake. This is also 57 miles deep. I'm sorry, 97 miles deep. 97 miles deep. Then we go all the way north here. This is the region of Guam. The region of Guam. This is a large 5.2 magnitude earthquake. Again, this is not near a landmass. This is south of Guam. Okay, this is still a very shallow earthquake. 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers deep. Okay? Then we're going to take you north up here. This, folks, is the Kuril Islands. This is a moderate 4.4 magnitude earthquake. We go further north, and that was 42 miles deep. We go further north up here to Kamchatka Peninsula. This, folks, is 21 miles deep. It's 69 miles south-southeast of Kamchatka Peninsula. So this is already over here in the Aleutian Islands area. It's away from Kamchatka, moving over here towards the Aleutian Islands area. We're going to see this same kind of seismic energy moving through the Aleutian Islands in the next couple days. You're going to see it. I'm showing you Alaska now. Okay? There's not a lot going on in Alaska. Maybe 60 earthquakes tops. The biggest earthquake of today is down here in the Gulf of Alaska. This is a small 3.0 magnitude quake, and it's on the low end of the 3.0 small quakes. 3.0, 3.9 are considered to be small quakes. This is on the low end. Going further northeast in the Gulf of Alaska, this is west-southwest of Yakutat, Alaska, 162 miles south-southwest of Yakutat, Alaska. It's a 2.6 magnitude earthquake. A 2.6. The rest of these earthquakes here are 2.4 or smaller quakes. This one over here in the Denali National Park area is actually 23 miles northeast of Scretina, Alaska. USGS has it southwest of Scretina, Alaska. It's not. It's in the southeastern part of Denali National Park. Again, The USGS still can't get its head out of its butt. Okay, the furthest north earthquake here is Central Alaska. This is near Allakaket, Allakaket, Alaska. This is a 1.3 tremor, and that's all. Okay, nothing north of that. Most of these earthquakes are in south central Alaska. South central Alaska. As we have done yesterday, we're going to be talking again about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. And in just a minute, I'm going to take you to the Cascadia region. I first want to talk over here about what is happening in and north of Puerto Rico. Over here that just happened, this is over in the Mona Pass. The Mona Pass. This is the body of water between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. This just happened. It's a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. That's all. Down here in southwestern Puerto Rico, these are the aftershocks of an earthquake that hit here nearly 4 years ago. Again, I will remind you that there were 2 earthquakes 4 years ago. An 8.0 and an 8.4 magnitude earthquake. Both of them man-made. And if you guys want me to go into what exactly happened that day, that will happen on a different program. But both of those major earthquakes, 8.0 and an 8.4, the 8.0 hit on December 26th, the day after Christmas. The 8.4 hit on December 28th, 3 days after Christmas. Both of them man-made earthquakes. These are aftershocks, what you see here. Aftershocks of those earthquakes. There have been aftershocks from the very day of that earthquake ongoing to today. Again, when we have major earthquakes like this, the aftershocks just don't quit. That does not happen. If the USGS wants to show that they quit, they're lying to the public. The aftershocks don't quit. They will go on for years. We've talked about this before. This earthquake here is 4 miles southwest of Guanica, Puerto Rico. The earthquake just northwest of there, this is a 3.0. This is a 2.4. Going eastward is also a 2.4. This is also a 2.4. Going north here, this is Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico. This is a 2.1. We go further west. This is a 2.3. This also is a 1.7. Kremlitz just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you ever so much. God bless you for that. I really appreciate all of the donations we get here on the super chat, and also the donations we get on Venmo, and also our PayPal locations. Okay, and me, of which I also want to thank I believe it's my cousin, yeah, Donna Howard. Donna Howard gave us a donation over on Venmo 2 days ago, or yesterday, I guess it was. I think she put it on 2 days ago, and I found it yesterday. But I want to thank Donna for that as well. Now, I also again want to thank Linda Covington, because she had given us a PayPal, or excuse me, a Venmo donation as well. I think I thanked her yesterday, at least I hope I did. But this is what's going on, guys. Richard Smith says the land masses are resonating. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The resonation doesn't go away even after 4 years after a major earthquake such as this. So, what happens when we have a good-sized earthquake in the Cascadia region? What happens? Look at these earthquakes, guys. These earthquakes here, these 4 earthquakes that are north of Puerto Rico. This one over here is northwest of Charlotte Amalie, U.S. Virgin Islands. That's a 3.3. This earthquake here and these 3 others are drop-offs of the Cayman Ridge, which is an earthquake superhighway that stretches from Guatemala all the way over here and out and around the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and down south of the Leeward, south and east of the Leeward Islands, and then it goes south down towards Venezuela and then makes a quick cut westward into Venezuela. Let me drop this back here and I'll show you. Okay, you can see here on the map here where the Cayman Ridge goes. Goes right into northern Venezuela here, just south of the island of Grenada. Okay, but these earthquakes here are provided to us by the Cayman Ridge. This one's a 1.9. This one is a 3.8. This is a 3.8. The largest size, one of the largest, the top end of the small earthquakes, the 3.8. Further west here, this is also a 3.4. Okay? Those were provided by that wonderful Cayman Ridge that stretches from over here in Guatemala and it continues eastbound. It continues eastbound here. Okay? It goes east and then it makes an abrupt northward turn and skirts the south side of the Cayman Islands. It continues eastbound north of Jamaica and skirts the southern part of Cuba. It continues east over here past Haiti and the Dominican Republic and just over here to where we were in Puerto Rico, and continues east and south. Okay? Just giving you an idea of what happened. USGS shows us 1 earthquake. A moderate 4.3 here, just southwest of Nicaragua. Nicaragua, 29 miles deep. 1 earthquake. Folks, here between Central America and Mexico, there's over 24 earthquakes. 24 earthquakes, not just 1. I'm going north over to the New Madrid area. I showed you a seismogram from Ridgely, Tennessee, the day before yesterday. USGS has even shown us a 1.6 tremor. A 1.6 tremor in Ridgely, Tennessee. Why are they not showing the other tremors here? Because yes, there are other tremors. And they're not even talking about it. They're not talking about the other 2.5s and 3.0s over here in the New Madrid area. They're not talking about the 3.5s and even the 4.0s that are here. And yes, those are hitting. They're just not telling anybody about it. We go further west over here to Oklahoma, a 2.5 here, and a 1.5 here in Owasso, Oklahoma. Now this one in Owasso, guys, guess what they're saying? Okay, they're calling this a quarry blast. Let's zoom in here. Okay, yes, there is a quarry here. So this time the USGS is correct. Yes, it is a quarry. You know, I checked. I check all the time. In fact, guys, let me show you something. Okay? Just south of this earthquake, guess what we have here? In this square box here, south of that earthquake, that's oil and gas fracking. Oil and gas fracking. And there's several oil and gas fracking operations right there in the vicinity just west of that 1.5 supposed quarry blast. So it may not be a quarry blast. I'm just saying. And right here, you can see all of the oil and gas fracking operations that are going on here. They're literally all over the place, guys. All over the place. So that's why I doubt it. I keep doubting the quarry blast because 9 times out of 10, they're not that. Demon Catman says, wow, twice in a week. Yeah, true story. Linda Covington says, Ponce, Puerto Rico, a great place. Yes, Ponce, Puerto Rico is. It's sad that we have to relate a major earthquake to that area. It is. It's very sad. Over here, guys, I want to show you this quake here. This is a 2.5. They don't show any particular location for it. But right down here to the southeast, guess what we have? And they won't bring it any closer here. They could, but they won't. Folks, those two places are oil and gas fracking. Oil and gas fracking. And if it be known, right here also is oil and gas. Okay? Down here, more oil and gas. It's happening all over Oklahoma. 586,000 oil and gas pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. Insane, guys. Down here in south central Texas, again we have another 2.0 magnitude earthquake. Minor earthquake, but a 2.0 nonetheless. This is 9 miles south of Smiley, Texas. This is not the only earthquake that we've had down here near Smiley, Texas. This is oil and gas fracking all over it. You can see the pumps and jacks all over here. Oil and gas fracking operations all over Texas. All over Texas. Over here in southwestern Texas, it continues. USGS tries to call this White City, New Mexico. It's not. This is still Texas. This is a 3.4 earthquake. This is a 2.1. This is a 2.1. This is a 2.1 here. North of there. This is a 1.9. We go southeast. This is a 2.1 in Toyah, Texas. We continue southeast. This is also a 2.1, 21 miles northwest of Toyah. No, it's not. Sorry, it's not. It's southwest of Toyah. Okay? It's insane. Just insane. And by the way, while we're still here, I talked to a dear friend of mine that does not want to know, does not want to be known other than Katie. She left this area. She lives out near Odessa, Texas. I talked to her and her family today, earlier about noon today. I sent her a weather map showing severe weather here. Yesterday afternoon, she left Odessa because they had so many tornado warnings, and tornadoes had been sighted near the ground but not quite on the ground here near Odessa, Texas. They went up into Carlsbad, New Mexico to get away from the bad weather, and now they're headed back to Odessa. Not quite as bad weather as they had last night. But this area in Texas is still getting hit. Central Texas going over to eastern Texas and down into Louisiana and Arkansas as well. All of you people need to stand by for really severe bad weather. Southeastern Oklahoma, you also need to stand by for bad weather. Indiana, Illinois, and parts eastward. You all need to stand by for this severe bad weather. And if you see an a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, get to the center of your homes, the lowest part of your homes, and stay there. Or if you have a storm shelter, get there. But take cover and do so immediately when that warning is issued. Don't chance it, because the next thing you know, there could be a tornado in your neighborhood, and it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It always is. Now, the only other fairly decent sized earthquake that hit today, this is another 3.9, 4.0 earthquake here in southern Wyoming. A 3.9 earthquake in southern Wyoming today. Okay? Yes, in all actuality too. This could have been, well, it actually was early this morning when it hit. And there may be also aftershocks from this quake. Going up into Montana area, Warm River, Idaho, the western part of Yellowstone, a 1.2. This is a 1.4, 14 miles southeast of Yellowstone. This is a 0.5 microquake, 8 miles east of Yellowstone. This is a 0.6 in Mammoth, Wyoming. Excuse me, yes, Mammoth, Wyoming. I don't know why I was saying it was Montana. Mammoth, Wyoming. This is the Mammoth Geyser Basin, guys. This is a 0.6 microquake at the Mammoth Geyser Basins. We go east. This is a 1.0 Yellowstone National Park. Another 0.9, 1.0 magnitude tremor. They're calling this 19 miles southeast of Mammoth. Why are they not calling it Yellowstone? It's closer to Yellowstone than Mammoth. What are these people at USGS? Stupid? Because they don't want to even admit where these earthquakes are. Some kind of stupid. Okay? I swear. Anyway, you see all these earthquakes over here in California. There is a small swarm over here near Cold Springs, Nevada, after that 4.1 last night. Look at this huge swarm of earthquakes. There's that 4.1 right here. 4 miles south of Cold Spring. It's northeast of Reno and south of Cold Spring. Anyway, look at this huge swarm of quakes. This one here is a 3.1. This is a big one, the 4.1. Swarm of earthquakes in Nevada. And it's continuing. It's not going to stop, guys. That was a good sized quake, and it may have been larger than a 4.1. The other one over here is in Prattville, California. What is that? It's on the Walker Lane Fault. But guess what? Even more so. Almanor, California. Almanor, California. It's still shaking there after the large earthquake hit here. Still shaking here. This is a 2.7. This is a 2.4. And this is also a 2.4. Interesting how that happens. Almanor, California is still shaking. Someone questioned me, sent me a message last night. What's going on with Almanor? Is there any more shaking going on? There most certainly is. It has not stopped. They may not report it, but that doesn't mean it hasn't stopped. It has not stopped. And I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. That was a stronger earthquake than they said it was. That area is still shaking. Okay? So we go on. All the earthquakes here in California, they continue, especially down here in Southern California, northeastern San Diego County, for the most part. Okay? The strongest earthquake here was in Pine Valley, East San Diego County. Okay? This, folks, was early this morning. 2:16 a.m. this morning. A 3.0 here in Pine Valley. This is the lower foothills of the Chocolate Mountains. Pine Valley, California. This is also the Elsinore Fault. The Elsinore Fault here. And you can see these other earthquakes north of there. Palomar Observatory again, guys, at 0.6. 1.3 tremor at Palomar. This is a 1.0 tremor at Palomar. Over here in the Imperial Valley, this is Ocotillo Wells, a 1.1 and a 0.9. We go south here. This is deeper into Imperial Valley. Well, guess where this is, guys? This is Brawley, California. This is a 1.4 magnitude tremor down here in Brawley, 6.2 miles deep on the San Andreas Fault, or the Imperial Fault, whatever you want to call it down here. Brawley, California. Now, for those that are interested in just a little bit of history, back in 1973, I was in Brawley here and also in that other place called Holtville for debate tournaments. One at Holtville High School and one here at Brawley High School. Yes, I was a speech and debate champion. Okay? Crazy. We didn't have any earthquakes back then down here. At least I don't remember them. Nobody talked about them. I'm sure there were some earthquakes there when I was not there. Very rarely did they ever talk about them. But that's what's going on here in Southern California. So, folks, let's stop talking about this area and talk about what's going on with the Cascadia earthquakes here. Let's go over to Vancouver Island, southern Vancouver Island. This is Oak Bay, Canada, a 1.3 tremor. We go northeast. Okay, this is Washington. This is a 1.5 in Washington. We go further south here in Darrington, Washington. They say this is a 0.9 microquake, 1.0 tremor. Darrington has volcanoes. Let it be known, Darrington has volcanoes, folks. Okay? They may not show deep craters or a volcanic cone here. But if you look closely into the history and the geologic history of Darrington, you're going to see basaltic rock here. Where does that come from? Volcanoes. All around Darrington, Washington. Okay? Let's go further southwest here. This is Bainbridge Island, Washington. We talked about Bainbridge yesterday. I showed you a seismogram here at Bainbridge. They're showing a 0.9 microquake, probably a 1.0. But as I showed you the seismogram from yesterday, there were a bunch of tremors and microquakes all over the seismogram. So USGS has decided to say, oh, there's a microquake there. Or maybe they're forcing themselves to tell about it because we talked about it last night. Just west of there, Chico, Washington. This is a 1.9, 2.0 magnitude earthquake. 1 mile northwest of Chico, Washington. Further south and west. This is Oakville, Washington. We've talked about Oakville here before. They're calling this an explosion. A 1.2 explosion here, 1 mile east-northeast of Oakville, Washington. Yes, it might be north-northeast of Oakville, but it's not in an area where you would normally see an explosion, unless this is a spontaneous combustus carnivorous, an exploding tree. Folks, this is just a 1.2 tremor, that's all it is. There's no explosion there. I've also done enough research here to know that it's not an explosion. Nobody has reported an explosion here, except USGS. It's an exploding tree with USGS. Okay, let's back away from there. Let's go just south of Mount Rainier here. Okay, this is a 0.3 microquake south of Mount Rainier. Okay, they have it as 0.3 in Washington State. It's south of Mount Rainier. Let's go further south, guys. There's more than that. We go further southwest over here to Mount St. Helens, right down smack dab inside the crater of Mount St. Helens. We have a 0.3 microquake, don't we? I will bet you if we looked at a seismogram, but of course they're not going to show us the seismograms because they cut off the seismograms. The seismographs aren't printing anything, right? Well, let's put it this way. The seismographs are still probably working. The USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network are not going to report them. They're showing no photograph available. Don Patoka says, expanding trees? Oh yeah, expansion by means of a spontaneous combustus carnivorous. It expanded all right into a huge combustus carnivorous. Oh yeah. But here is just another example of the agency reporting information but not reporting it in other ways that they should be. Okay? Plenty of activity. And this one just here. Guess what, guys? This is Mount Hood. And they're saying this is northeast of Government Camp. Really? Northeast of Government Camp? Guess what? This is almost directly north of Government Camp. Government Camp is timberline. Okay? It's on the southernmost part of Mount Hood. Okay? This is a 0.8 microquake. Just on the upper part of Mount Hood. This is also 0.9 here. This one here just happened. So we've had a 0.8 and a 0.9 up here on Mount Hood, not at Government Camp. Okay? Just so you know. Over here, Wilsonville, Oregon. They're calling this an explosion here. Let's go here. Let's take a look at it. How close is it to homes, number one? Okay? They say this is a 1.2 magnitude explosion. It's a tenth of a mile deep. Yeah, it's possible that they could have drilled into the surface, into the crust of the earth, a tenth of a mile. That is very possible. Look where this explosion hit. Okay? This looks to be an open field. Yes, maybe a farmer did this. Maybe it was an explosion here. It's nowhere near land. It's definitely nowhere near a quarry here. It's not a quarry blast, but another explosion. I would rather think of it as a 1.2 tremor, because this agency lies through their frickin' teeth. Okay? It's just not right. Why would they put an explosion right next to, within a football field length, of a bunch of homes? Doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Further north, or further south, this is Melrose, Oregon. Another explosion. A 1.4 explosion. Melrose, Oregon. There are a bunch of tremors here. A bunch of tremors. But look at this, guys. Again, look where it's at. It's in a forested area. This is 0.2 of a mile deep. 7 miles west of Melrose, Oregon. Interesting enough. Okay? I doubt it was an explosion. It just doesn't happen that way. Okay? So I've showed you the Cascadia range. So let's get out of there for a minute. Okay? Now, something that I want to show you, though, is the tremor map. This is provided by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network for the previous 24-hour period, meaning June 1st. Interesting as it is, let's take a look at this map. Okay? Let me expand it out here. Let's see where this is. This is around Eugene, Oregon, and south of Eugene, Oregon. Okay? Look at that. Then south of there, this is northwest and west of Medford, Oregon, and also over here in the Sierra National Forest. 6 Rivers National Forest. Not Sierras, 6 Rivers. And it stretches out here down to Shasta National Forest. guess what, folks? There are a great number of tremors here. There are a great number of tremors here. 314 tremors. 314 tremors here. Okay? There's nothing for the north at all. Not a thing. Or I would have showed it to you. This is all there are. All there is, I should say. All there are. What language have I been speaking all these years? Maybe being a redneck has rubbed off on me. 314 tremors here. We talked about tremors and earthquakes last night, didn't we? Let's go down here and talk more about what is going on here in the Cascade Mountain Range. Okay? Let me again familiarize you what the Cascade Range is. Okay? This shows the area where the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to hit, right here. Okay? Then, let me show you this. Again, this area, all of it, is called the Cascadia megathrust earthquake region. The Cascade earthquake megathrust region. Okay? So when we're talking about earthquakes, and we have seen a lot of earthquakes in this area, on that Blanco fracture zone that we talked about last night. You can see where that is right here. You can see where it says the Gorda Ridge as well. And you can see the Gorda Plate. They called that earthquake fault the Gorda Escarpment. The Gorda Escarpment is the southern edge of the Gorda Plate. Okay? And you can see where the triple junction is on this map. Just off the coast of Northern California there. Okay? You also see Cape Mendocino. Now, Cape Mendocino is not just right there. Okay? There's also something else called the Mendocino Fault, which starts at Cape Mendocino and goes straight east. The Mendocino Fault. And we've seen many earthquakes there. If there's an earthquake on the Mendocino Fault, it could be said that it is part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. This whole area is the subduction zone region. Okay? I just want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about. I think it's very important that we understand what we're talking about and where we're going with this. Very, very important. Yesterday we talked about the coming of the big earthquake. The coming of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. 9 to a 10.0 magnitude earthquake. It's been scientifically established that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake, CMTE, is a subduction zone quake, meaning one plate going down deep under the other plate. That's what happens over in Indonesia and the South Pacific. 7 different plates, one subducting under the other there, including the Pacific Plate down there in the South Pacific. Even the Pacific Plate is subducting in that region. But up here, the Pacific Plate is subducting under the North American Plate, the North American continent. Okay? Now, we talked about volcanoes in the area and how volcanoes can result from subduction, with magma rising around the earthquake fault and going into and establishing a volcano. Okay? Specific volcanic activity precedes the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's rare to have a high 3 magnitude, which would be a 3.8, 3.9 earthquake, and a 4+ magnitude quake at multiple Cascade volcanoes. It is rare. It does happen, and we have even seen that as of late around Mount Rainier and also Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood. We've seen it. Now, if we get 2 4.5 or larger earthquakes, 4.5, 5.0, 5.5 magnitude earthquakes, 2 of them within a very short time together, those will be the precursor for the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. 2 4.5 to larger earthquakes within a very short time of each other. That is a precursor. Now, with that said, or earthquakes or a volcanic eruption. Like we explained last night, there was a sea fair. There was someone out at sea in a boat, in a ship, and he said that he thought he saw Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak erupting at the time of the last Cascadia megathrust earthquake. So we know that we're going to either have 2 large or 2 close to large earthquakes together, close together, or a volcanic eruption, or maybe several volcanic eruptions. But those things will precede the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. And then you'll know that we might be 2 weeks away from that very stressful, very damaging, very dangerous 9.0 to 10.0 magnitude earthquake. Okay? This will be our warning of the impending Cascadia megathrust earthquake. 2 or more magnitude 4.5 or larger earthquakes within a very short time period, a week or less, or an eruption of at least one of the Cascade Mountain volcanoes. The speed of the process of the release of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is not known, but careful study over a period of time has provided more data that will assist us in understanding the rate of development of this earthquake. Now, as we have begun to search for a precursor event, a precursor activity, that began over 2.5 years ago. It began with the discovery of a very loose history of a volcano in Canada, British Columbia, Canada, the Seismic volcano. The Seismic volcano in British Columbia. It erupted near or during the same time of the 1700 AD Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Okay, so we may have had at least 2 erupting volcanoes, one up in British Columbia and at least one in Washington State. Now, as I spoke about that person in that ship off the coast, that single mariner's logbook entry stated that either Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak was erupting during the 1700 megaquake. These are also clues to a connection between the volcanic activity and the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. But that is not too much to go on. So we have needed to do a substantial data search. And we searched, and we searched, and we believe that we found some answers. The summary of this added data is this. The process is a building up of pressure over hundreds of years that is caused by the movement of the North American plate in a westward direction. As I stated yesterday, the Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate in the south-southwestern direction. This is an established outcome of plate tectonics. This force, this tectonic force, overcomes the friction at the plate boundary zone and begins the process of subduction. The plate boundary zones, you see them over on this map. You see them on the map here. The plate boundary zones. This process presents us initially as subduction creep. Remember I showed you those seismograms yesterday showing you those tremors? Subduction creep. Subduction creep causes subduction-specific seismic tremor signatures. We showed them to you. And those signatures were recorded at volcanic mountains. Some of those are recorded at the volcanoes themselves, above and along the contact boundary zone. These signatures are being recorded right now at 7 different Cascadia volcanic locations, starting at Crater Lake in south central Oregon, Newberry Volcano in Oregon. 3, a site 18 miles west of Mount Jefferson. 4, Mount St. Helens. We showed you a lot of volcanic earthquakes and tectonic creep, tectonic tremors. Mount Rainier, Glacier Peak, and even at Mount Baker on the north side of Washington, just south of Canada. Additionally, there have been an increase in tremors at Mount Meagher in British Columbia. A seamount activity, 6 seamounts undersea volcanic cones from mid-Vancouver Island west and north of Haida Gwaii. Since September 2019, we have been finding more and more hotspots around Sayak's volcanic cone in British Columbia, and Aveyah volcano, which is a young cinder cone with adjacent lava flows of its own. Aveyah, A-I-Y-A-N-S-H, Aveyah volcano. Also the Sayak's river cone, or the Aveyah volcano. It's a young cinder cone in the northern Cordilleran volcanic province in British Columbia. Now there's another volcano. It's called Mount Edizia, E-D-Z-I-Z-A, E-D-Z-I-Z-A, Mount Edizia in northwestern British Columbia, Canada. It is a large, complex stratovolcano about 1 million years old, forming the most recently active of a group of overlapping basaltic shields, lava domes, lava flows, and central stratovolcanoes. Mount Aveyah contains a 2-kilometer wide ice-filled summit caldera with a central summit crater and several flank cones and vents. The volcano's lava range is basalt to rhyolite lava. Basalt to rhyolite lava. This is common with these northwestern volcanoes. Frequent volcanic activity of the complex has been going on for about 8 million years. But, okay, there's always a but, isn't there? But the last eruptions occurred only 1,000 years ago. Mount Shasta, Mount Lassen, Sutter Buttes, little-known Mount Trowbridge in British Columbia, and an unnamed Vancouver Island mountain with 2 very clear calderas, one on top and one on the flank. Using overlapping infrared satellite images from the College of Dupage, we undertook a meticulous count of hotspots of West North America and mid-British Columbia to the northern part of Mexico. We undertook a study, an infrared study, using the College of Dupage, looking all over the West Coast. And as far east is Alberta, Montana, western Wyoming, western Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. And that is a huge area indeed. A total of 130 hotspots were spread across that area. Now, about 2 years ago, you might have been lucky to find only 10 hotspots for that same area. Okay? We've been looking at this for a very, very long time. Now, Mount Shasta recently had several hotspots at the mountain, and it has also had increased activity that we've been reporting about. More recently, we have counted over 136 hotspots in British Columbia alone. Now, that does not account for slash burns. Okay? That does not account for slash burns, authorized burns in the area. That is 136 hotspots that we believe is magma just below the surface of the earth. The surface of the earth we walk on. British Columbia has had 17 hotspots before that. Now, why are these hotspots important? Because the majority of the hotspots relate to magmatic rise, magma just below the surface that causes crustal heating. A smaller percentage relate to fires in the area, of which we believe that 2 years ago accounted for fires in Sonoma County, California. Some of the fires over there near Paradise and that area may have been caused by hotspots in the area. Now, I'm going to go now down and talk about Mammoth Volcano in Central California, East Central California. Mammoth Mountain has had many swarms of earthquakes as of late. We've talked about that on occasion. And that is also an increase. And lately, if you know, when I've talked about Mammoth, the agency has hidden seismic activity. They have turned off the seismograms on many occasions. And sometimes they've turned them off for just hours and then turned them back on. And as soon as they turned them back on, it showed a lot of earthquake activity caused by magma at that volcano, and Long Valley as well. They hide the data. Why do they turn them off? In the middle of the day or the middle of the night. Why do they turn it off? Because there's activity that they don't want us to see. Okay? We've noticed an increase in numbers of small and minor earthquakes being reported at widespread volcanic locations across western North America, to include the Mojave Desert of Southern California. We've been talking about that, haven't we? Amy Jones is saying that she has had some buffering. She asks, has anybody else had it yet? Demon Cat says 5.5 over there in England. Don Patoka in Salt Lake City says 5 by 5 there. Amy Jo, if that continues, leave the program and come back immediately. That usually refreshes everything. So please refresh us and come back as soon as possible. Kimberly Hopkins says 5 by 5. Richard Smith over there in Nova Scotia, Canada, 5 by 5. That's great. Okay? So we've talked about the Mojave Desert, haven't we? We've talked about earthquakes all over the Nevada, or the, not Nevada, but the Ridgecrest, California area, and far north as Mammoth, that whole area. Now, as I told you, we've done a great deal of discovery. A lot of research has come into this. We've been doing this for over 3 years now. There is immense pressure that's required to create an immense earthquake, such as the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Immense pressure. There's been a demonstrable increase in symptoms of immense pressure going back about 6 months and longer. The combined data that's been accumulated over the last 3 years has revealed the truth of all of this. The seismology also says that the process of subduction is well underway. It's well underway. We've shown earthquakes up and down the entire Cascadia region. The subduction is well underway. The moderate 4.7 earthquake just months ago is the evidence of the strong seismic creep that we have witnessed in the same time period. And also months before that, when we had the alleged 6.8 earthquake that I showed was at least an 8.0. Subduction, guys. Subduction. The melting of the friction points. The friction points. The edges of the plates here. The melting along the friction points. The edges of the plates. Caused by seismic or cosmic radiation. Not seismic, but cosmic radiation. CMEs coming from the sun, and magnetosphere radiation coming from the alignment of the planets. Electromagnetic radiation that's caused by the aligning of the planets. The alignment of the planets. Cosmic, CME solar, and the alignment of the planets has caused the plates to heat up, the edges of the plates to heat up. And when that happens, as I said, all that grit and grime, all of that biological material that's held those plates in place, that dirt, the dirt and gravel and rock and biological materials, that heats up to a certain point and turns into a greasy, oily substance and causes those plates to move. Okay? The melting of those friction points that have restrained the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is underway. The subduction-specific signatures have proven this, beyond a shadow of a doubt. The melting extends laterally over time along the entire plate boundaries. Over the entire plate boundaries, up and down the faults. There is also significant data to show that the area east of San Francisco and south of San Jose, California, are showing signs of volcanic instability, as witnessed during the final days of October 2019, when there were earthquakes in those areas. And I'll also reference October 1989, when there were big earthquakes in those areas. These have been shown to have volcanic influence. To witness, Los Banos, Tres Pinos had that 5.1 a couple years ago. And the Pinnacles just south of Monterey Bay, have seen small to moderate increased seismic activity even this year. The area between Vancouver, British Columbia and Santa Barbara, California is showing signs of volcanism happening. And this bears further close study. This entire area, north to south, could come apart at the seams in the very near future. Amy Jones, I'm glad you refreshed it and it's better now. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Now, I've done a lot of study on this. I kid you not, guys. This is going to happen. This is definitely going to happen. It's not over. It's not even close to being over. Okay. Let's talk about more. There's so much more to talk about. It's literally not even funny. I want to talk about the release of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's been underway for quite some time. Months and years. Now, this is a bold statement to make. I understand that. A lot of scientists also understand this now. A few years ago, the scientists were backing away from saying anything about it because they saw a lot of earthquake activity. They did not understand it until now, after additional studies have been made. if any lives are to be saved by forecasting this earthquake, you need to start your planning right now. We've been talking about earthquake and just general preparedness planning for a very long time. You folks along the west coast of Canada and the United States, I'm urging you all, as I have been doing for quite a while, make sure you have an emergency plan. Not just for earthquakes, but any kind of disaster and earthquake activity you might encounter. Floods, tornadoes, crime in your area, fires in your area, earthquakes in your area, heavy rain and floods in your area. You need to have a plan. And in your plan, you need to speak about every kind of disaster or emergency that you might encounter. Really bad weather, snow and heavy rain. You need to include all of that information in your emergency plan. Now, as I said, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is held in position by friction. It's held together by friction. It's still being held together by friction. And that friction is breaking down now. It's breaking down all over the place. Now, I'm going to talk about Cascadia and the really big one. You need to know. Over the years, we have urged government officials to prepare for a terrifying and unprecedented magnitude 9, 10, and above earthquake that could possibly unleash a deadly tsunami. And as of the last year and a half, finally the governments have come together. State, local, and federal governments have come together in northern Seattle and Spokane, Washington, and have conducted disaster drills in those areas involving the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Areas north and south and eastward have also participated. Police, sheriffs, fire and paramedics, and National Guard troops from as far away as Idaho and Montana, and Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, and Colorado, and California participated in the Cascadia megathrust earthquake drills. There have been 2 of them. There may be another one this year. I'm hearing talk of having another one because you can't have too many drills. You cannot have too many dress rehearsals for the real thing. It's gonna happen. And everyone needs to know about it. Everybody, all the officials, including the politicians, should participate in these drills so they know how to react and get their logistics people involved as well. We've done that whenever I've been involved with it. But the scientists have been urging government officials for years. Yes, finally it's happened. The Cascadia subduction zone is a region where multiple tectonic plates are colliding. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault, the Juan de Fuca fault, the Farallon fault, the North American plate, tectonic plates colliding, the Pacific plate and the North American plate colliding, and the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the North American plate. The Juan de Fuca plate, up there just off the coast of Seattle and Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a small oceanic plate. It's being driven underneath the North American plate as well, atop which the continental U.S. and Canada is. Subduction systems, where one tectonic plate slides over another, that are capable of producing the world's largest known earthquakes. A prime example of this is 2011, the Tokyo Fukushima quake that rocked Japan. 9.0 earthquake and a huge tsunami. They killed thousands of people. Cascadia has been seismically very quiet compared to other subduction zone areas, but it's not completely inactive. Research indicates that the fault has ruptured quite a few times, in roughly a magnitude 9.0 event in 1700. That's roughly 30 times more powerful than the largest predicted San Andreas quake. Researchers suggest that we are within a 300 to 500 year window, during which another large Cascadia event may occur. In 2016, government officials participated in a Cascadia Rising event. I was there. Federal, state, and local officials from several states participated in that drill, along with the National Guard, as I explained. For years before, participants worked on plans and protocols for a possible rupture of the Cascadia Fault region. In the area of June 7th through the June 10th, 2016, teams came together with several states and agencies and fully opened emergency operations centers all over Western North America. Increasing concern about the possibility of a megathrust earthquake, another report suggests that the growth of subtle electromagnetic signals have been detected in the upper atmosphere of the Earth in many parts of the world, in the oceans of the world as well. The most intense signals appear on the U.S. West Coast and parts of the Midwest. Some of these signals also appear in the upper latitudes of North America and the southern Pacific Ocean. I wonder why. More ominously, one report says that the scientists have confirmed the independent analysis of New Zealand mathematician and longtime weather trends forecaster Ken Ring, who predicted the deadly earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand. Scientists have declared, like other citizens have thought, that it is just a matter of when, not if, a devastating earthquake strikes, like what happened in New Zealand. And Alaska. Remember the 7.0 earthquake that hit in Anchorage, Alaska? It's going to be worse. That earthquake, and we have seen other earthquakes since, an 8.7 over there in the southern peninsula of Alaska, unleashed a tsunami that created havoc over there in the southern peninsula of Alaska. But we're talking about another issue, a subduction earthquake that could unleash a tsunami that could wreak havoc over large parts of the world. The rupture of the Cascadia fault line could cause damage and destruction on a scale bigger than the Japanese and earthquakes and tsunami of 2011. Mr. Ring explained his methodology for forecasting earthquakes in the following way, quote, "The other planets have a strong influence on the Earth, but indirectly, by influencing the Sun. Some planets are very large. If the Sun were a basketball, for instance, the gas giants Jupiter and Saturn would be the size of grapefruit, and the Earth on such a scale would be the size of a grain of pepper." Imagine that. Jupiter and Saturn could cause extra pull on the Sun, as in the case of the Earth and the Moon. These large solar tides become solar activity and solar flares that we've recently seen, together with normal plate tectonics and underground forces. And for example, there's been a lot of talk about Jupiter and Saturn as of late. Jupiter and Saturn create time tug-of-wars with the Earth in the center. That's why in different places, earthquakes above 7.0 magnitude occur. Now, referring to this report, low pressure associated with catastrophic earthquakes in the Midwest, which today continue to suffer from heavy rainfall and snow as of late. Now it's starting to get hot again. And in particular, they affect the New Madrid Fault in Arkansas. I showed you that earlier this week, which is only in the last 6 months has experienced several hundred earthquakes that we've talked about and we've shown you. But the most ominous in this report is a warning that penetrated faults in California can survive the most devastating earthquake in decades. California faults can survive the most devastating earthquake in the last decades. Further, increasingly because of the Cascadia drills we've conducted, the U.S. declared the rare exercises of the U.S. military, the National Guard, agencies of the federal government, ladies and gentlemen, the ATF, yeah, the ATF guys. Did you guys know that there's also a law enforcement organization with the Department of Agriculture? Oh yeah. And FEMA. They also have a law enforcement segment of their organization. And Homeland Security with the Federal Protective Police. All these agencies and more have trained together as we've done exercises in the Cascadia region involving the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Local organizations such as school districts and cities and towns up and down the entire Washington state and some places in Oregon. The school districts have built buildings high enough up in the hills, hopefully to make sure that people can evacuate to these schools in the event when a Cascadia event happens, so we can try to save lives. Canadian representatives have also been part of this. The U.S. State Department, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the NSA, and the Red Cross have also been part of it. We've had many Red Cross trucks and other vehicles that have been involved in these drills with great success. Because wherever there's a disaster or an emergency, the Red Cross has almost always been there. And they certainly will be ready when the time comes. They conduct their own drills. The preparedness plan that I've been talking about with all of you and everyone that's been involved with these drills, we've discussed and planned and coordinated between scientists, government officials, politicians, emergency management organizations, health providers. Yes, hospitals and doctors have all been involved with these drills. Business experts have all been involved with these drills. As everyone knows, the longer the wait, the longer it is between now and when this earthquake happens, the bigger the earthquake is going to be. With major earthquakes rattling around the entire Pacific Ring of Fire lately. And we've talked about these. We've discussed them in length. We know that the plates have been locked and the energy in the stress force is locked up. But when it does release, that power and unleashed fury is going to be very dangerous and devastating. Let everyone remember this. It's going to be very dangerous and devastating, and I'm not mincing words. We've been talking on this program alone many times a month about everyone needing to have their own emergency preparedness plan. Regardless of whether it's an earthquake or whatever it might be, you need to have a preparedness plan. And I've hammered on this. Your immediate safety and your well-being is incumbent. It's incumbent and in your hands, because nobody else is going to be able to do it but you. And only you are going to spare yourself and your families. You and you alone are going to be standing accountable for your family members. That's why we hammer on having an emergency preparedness plan. This earthquake is going to be very dangerous, and the unleashed fury of this power of these tectonic plates is going to be unseen ever. We've never seen anything like it. No one alive has ever seen this kind of fury. It's going to be devastating. We still have a lot of work to do. And we can be proud of the effort and the commitment that has been put forth by whole communities to get these resources. And agencies and political organizations that are going to be in touch so closely when this event occurs. We want all of you to also be part of this. You need to understand exactly what is happening. Yes, Rob52 says PNSN.org shows a tremor map over 300 tremors today. Oh yeah, they do. But they're not even seeing everything. Or, excuse me, they're seeing it, but they're not reporting it. There's over 1,000 tremors up and down the entire fault. Yesterday I showed you hundreds of tremors further up north that they didn't even cover yesterday or the day before. Today they're only reporting of tremors in southern Oregon and northern California. They're not even touching on anything in northern Oregon or in Washington. And yet there's tremors there that they're not talking about. Why? Because this agency does not want anybody to realize exactly what the heck is going on. Garrison Tellison says, "Hey Ron." Hello Garrison, it's good to see you here. We still have a lot of work to do. All of us. Not just those people that have been involved with these disaster drills. You and I have a lot to do. We need to get ourselves together. We need to make sure all of our family members are together on this. And you folks in Utah, it's not just the Cascadia mega thrust earthquake. When the Cascadia quake hits, you guys along the Wasatch Fault in Utah and Idaho are going to shake. This earthquake in Cascadia is going to affect the entire continent. The entire North American plate is going to shake, east to west. Or should I say west to east? The whole plate's going to shake. You and I, all of us, need to make sure that we have the resources ourselves, and we need to start making time to make sure we have these plans together. I will bet you that less than 25% of people that have listened to my programs over the last 4+ years, I will bet less than 25% of you have an emergency preparedness plan, or much less or more an emergency preparedness kit. I'll bet less than 25% have that. Why do I say that? Because about 2 years ago, actually 4 years ago, 4 years ago, a study was done of emergency managers. Emergency managers. We were asked by FEMA to make sure that we had our own 72-hour kits. And we were supposed to be telling everybody in our cities and our counties across this country and worldwide to make sure everyone had a 72-hour kit. 72 hours worth of clothes, 72 hours worth of food, 72 hours worth of water, and other supplies that we might need during an emergency. Months later, the study was completed. Less than 25% of emergency managers even participated. Less than 25% of emergency managers have a 72-hour kit. You tell me what's wrong with that. If we cannot even get our emergency managers to comply, why would I think that I could get you folks to comply with my pleading to make sure you have a preparedness plan and a preparedness kit? I've been talking about it. I've been mapping it out what you need, even on this channel since the other one was taken down. I put all the information together. I gave it to you on this channel. I've also put my website out there. It's in the upper part of the program description for this channel each and every day. What the website in the files sharing area shows you all kinds of emergency preparedness stuff that you need to have. Emergency preparedness items and ideas that you may need to help yourselves and your families during an emergency. It's not if, it's during an emergency. It's going to happen. Now, I'm talking about the Cascadia information here. It's going to become incumbent on all of us and on our regional partnerships and the collaboration to execute our critical mission of supporting the survivors when they need us most. When the catastrophic megathrust earthquake occurs, it's going to occur around the world. And it's going to hit here. The entire earth is going to shake. And we cannot let this be ignored. A lot of people are going to hurt. A lot of people are going to be hurt. And we believe that we can support the survivors and hopefully save many lives. But it's not just up to me. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for everybody within the sound of my voice to write an emergency preparedness plan for yourselves and your family. Invite your family members to be part of it. Laura Marie says it's time for me to check my clothes and my food in my 72-hour kit. Food expires. My clothing size has changed. Laura Marie is a very dear family member of mine. No, we're not blood related, but she and I are very close over the years. Her and her family are very close to ours. I'm asking all of you to do the same thing. Please, please, for your own safety, please do this. Joseph Vallo was here in the chat saying, get first aid training as well. I completely agree. I'm first aid trained. I've been an instructor for first aid and CPR. I've been asking about that for all of you as well. Joseph is saying there was an incident at work where I had to use it. He had to use it. Can't get into details, but that training paid off. Folks, the training paid off when I was a cop. I saved a lot of lives with my training with first aid and CPR. Yes, I lost some people that were long dead before I even got to them, and I tried to bring them back. I was successful on some and not successful on others, but it's worth trying. Someone in my area here, where I live, just outside of Morganton, in an area that's called Chesterfield. One member of the Chesterfield Volunteer Fire Department collapsed at the scene of a fire. If it wasn't for the immediate rescue crews at that fire, performing CPR and first aid, that firefighter may have lost his life. They saved his life this past week. I'm telling you guys, it pays off. But this disaster is going to happen at our front doors. We've seen catastrophic earthquakes around the globe. We've seen 7.5s, 7.7s over in the South Pacific. We've seen 8.0s in South America. We've seen 9.0s over there in the Antarctic region. We reported on it 2 years ago. USGS denied it happened. Then scientists took a plane ride and found a 14-mile-long fissure that opened up in the ice as a result of that 9.0 earthquake. We've seen 7.5 and 8.0 earthquakes hitting in the South Sandwich Island region. We just saw a 9.0 earthquake hit in Turkey in the Syria area. It's still generating earthquake aftershocks today. I showed you those at the beginning of this presentation for a reason. When this catastrophic, cataclysmic Cascadia megathrust earthquake hits, we're going to see the same death toll and destruction that Turkey saw. 50 to 60,000 people dead. Hundreds of thousands of homes and buildings destroyed. Thousands of people injured. And yes, that area was not prepared at all. In most parts of that area, it looks like a third world country before the earthquake. Now it's worse. That's what this area here in northwestern United States and Canada is going to look like. Since 2012, geologists have been able to deploy 55 GPS monitors off the coast of Oregon to record subtle ground deformations that have resulted from the plate's inability to slide past each other. Slide it's going to do. These 55 sensors that are put down on the ocean floor by the Oregon State University people. These sensors have recorded at least 20 earthquakes per day and over 80,000 earthquakes per year. They have not published the data on each individual sensor and what they've recorded and when they've recorded it, but I'm telling you, 20 earthquakes per day and over 80,000 earthquakes per year. And that's just off the Oregon coast. If we are indeed having at least 20 earthquakes each day, why is USGS and Pacific Northwest Seismic Network not reporting these to the general public? Why? Just like historic seismicity, the plates are locked up. And it's more common in the northern and southern parts of Cascadia and Southern California. I have shown you pictures of the disasters of earthquakes, recent and long-term earthquakes. Geologists are now able to observe difficult to detect seismic rumblings known as tremors. I showed you on seismograms what tremors look like. These events occur over the time span of several minutes up to weeks and even months. They take much longer than a typical earthquake. These tremors are occurring every day, every minute of every day. These tremors don't cause large ground motions yet. But where we have swarms, they indicate in these swarms where a larger earthquake is going to hit. These Tremors do not release significant amounts of energy as once thought. But permanent seismic stations have helped us to build a robust catalog of events and tremors. These agencies can map where these tremors and earthquakes occur. They know that. They're only showing us a small bit of data. As I showed you that tremor map earlier, they're only showing a small part of what they know. Our results provide new insights in how this subduction process and the subduction zone operates, and possibly other seismic subduction zones too, over geologic time frames, possibly even millions of years. Unfortunately, our results cannot completely forecast when the next large Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to occur. This is going to continue to require much more research and dense active monitoring of the subduction zone, both onshore and offshore, using seismic GPS-like stations to capture event information. And like I said, I have been trying to pass that on to you for 4 years now, over 4 years. There's a lot of more work that needs to be done. But what we've already done and even accomplished on this channel suggests that a large event is likely to start, either in the northern or the southern sections of the Cascadia fault zone, where the plates are more fully locked. And further south, around San Francisco, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and San Diego. It remains important for the public and everyone, including policymakers, to stay informed about the potential risk involved in living in and around a subduction zone area, and to support programs that are still under development, such as the Earthquake Early Warning System that has been deployed, and to expand our monitoring capabilities and to mitigate loss in the event of a large rupture that is going to happen. It's important for people that live in these areas to be prepared. That is why I have been speaking yesterday and today about it. It's important to become prepared to a point that you will survive a severe megathrust earthquake that's going to occur. It's a matter of time. We need to eat, and we need to preach, and we need to live a lifestyle. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, we need to eat, preach, and live a lifestyle. We must teach ourselves and our family and our friends what it means to be prepared and what to do when an emergency strikes. You need to develop emergency preparedness kits and medical kits. You need to develop a preparedness kit and write out your exercise preparedness plans. How many more times do I need to say and tell people to write out your emergency preparedness plans with your families, our businesses, and our entire communities? Contact your communities, your city and your town planners, and ask them if the community has an emergency preparedness plan in place for any kind of emergency that could happen in your area, and ask them what you need to plan for, what you need and could expect to happen in your area, in your community, in your neighborhood. These are all the things that I have detailed in the past 2 days. Please, everyone, please write an emergency preparedness plan. Get together an emergency preparedness kit and do it quickly. I don't think we're going to have too much more time between this or any other disaster that's going to hit us, and it's coming. I promise you, an emergency and a disaster is about to knock your door down, and you need to be ready. I'm telling you. Folks, I know what's going to happen. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what's going to happen. I want everybody to be prepared. This is not going to be fun. This is not going to be fun, but I promise you it will be worth it. It will be worth it. And yes, you can make a fun activity out of it for you and your family as you all participate together in putting together a plan. Writing a plan. Have a family home evening. Have what we call a family home evening together as a family, where each member of your family can make suggestions of what you need to prepare for in your family, and write out a plan that you're going to be able to use to prepare for any kind of emergency that can exist in your area, in your home. Write that plan. And while you're doing that, make sure you're putting together your emergency preparedness kit. Don't forget water. Don't forget water. I have been talking to everyone about this for over 4 years. Folks, now it's been 4 years and 3 months. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop until I see everybody doing it. And I'm not going to stop even then, because there's a lot more that's going to happen. Miss Eyes is asking what's going to happen. I just got here. Mrs. Eyes, please go back through last night's program that we put out. Go through tonight's program as well, from start to finish. If you only spend 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes with these programs, you're not going to see and know everything that we've talked about. It's very important that you review every minute of every program that we've done here in the last 2 days. Because I'm telling you, if you don't, you may be sorry when these disasters hit and you're not ready. You may lose your life, or your loved ones may lose your lives as well. Kristen Cashel is wanting me to talk about liquefaction in the coastal areas. She's confused about what that is. Okay, let me talk about that. When the earth shakes in the coastal areas, if you live in a place that has very loamy soil, sandy type soil, when the earth shakes, the water table is going to raise up. The water table is going to raise up as the earth shakes. And that sandy, loamy soil is going to turn into quicksand. Cars, I don't even have a car with me here. I've got a car across on the other wall of my office here. Cars, light poles are going to sink into this quicksand. Signs and roadways are going to sink into this quicksand. Homes and buildings are going to sink into this quicksand. Anybody standing out in it is also going to sink into these quicksands. Okay? Now, those of you that went to Emergency Preparedness Fairs that I did in Utah, in California, and Colorado, I built a shake table with soil, loamy soil in it, sand and such. And I had water down at the bottom of it. And when the table started shaking, all the buildings, the homes, the power poles, telephone poles, cars, signs, everything sunk into the soil. The soil is going to become a great, big, huge place where you're going to sink. That's what liquefaction is. That is liquefaction. Washington, Oregon, California, the San Francisco Bay, Santa Barbara, San Simeon, the entire Los Angeles basin, San Diego. Can you say Salt Lake City? Yes, Salt Lake City. Sandy, Utah, south of Salt Lake, 20 miles south of Salt Lake. There's a reason they call it Sandy. It's like quicksand, guys, and you're going to sink in it. That is what liquefaction does. When the earth shakes, that area of loamy soil is going to be quicksand, and it's not going to be funny. Some people will try to get out of it. Animals and Humans in Disasters here says, in 1989, San Francisco shake, liquefaction at the marina over the epicenter was 60 miles away. 60 miles away. The Salton Sea area and the entire Imperial Valley is in the same boat. The water table beneath the Imperial Valley is not very far beneath it. When that area really shakes, it's going to turn into quicksand. Okay? Kristen's asking, my house is on clay sand on Sillet's Bay. Can you get out of it? Maybe. Maybe. It depends on how far you are above that water table. It may only go inches or feet or yards or meters deep. Ask your city managers. Ask your emergency manager in your area to find more about your area. Okay? Ask your emergency managers. Find out. I know for a fact the police and fire department probably have not even talked about this. I know for a fact that's not going to happen. Very few firefighters even know what liquefaction is. They may have not ever heard about it. Why do I know it? Because I have talked to firefighters. Unless the fire marshal or the fire chief or one of their inspectors or emergency managers like I am, they may not have even heard about it. Kristen Cashless says nobody here ever does. I know. I've been there, done it. Animals and Humans in Disaster Science, you taught me about the Salton Sea Run. I bow my head to the master. No, I'm not the master. I'm just giving you information that I know about. I've been down there in the Imperial Valley. I've been in Brawley. I've been in Holtville. I've been in the town of Imperial. I've been in Westmoreland. I've been in Calipatria. I've been at El Central Naval Air Station. I've been all over that area. I've been literally all over San Diego County, north to south. I've been all over the Los Angeles Basin from Santa Monica Pier, San Clemente Pier, all the way out to the San Bernardino Mountains and out into the desert. Yeah, I've been there. Victorville, Baker, Bakersfield. I've been out in Las Vegas. I've been in Utah, north to south. I've been in Idaho. I have been in Wyoming and Montana. I've been in Yellowstone. I've been in Colorado, north to south. I actually wish I had spent more time in Colorado. This is going to affect everybody. It's going to affect everybody in the Midwest as well. It's going to affect everybody on the East Coast. It's going to. Please, folks, please, before you leave tonight, please give us a thumbs up. That's one. Please watch the entire video if you have not done so. And last night's video as well, from start to finish. Third, I want you to share this program with everyone you know. Invite your family to sit down and watch our program. It is imperative that they have this information as well, and they may need to take notes. You may need to take notes on everything that we talked about. One good thing, this video is going to be around for a while. You can go back and refer to it, but don't wait for too long. Don't wait for too long. Because the disaster, the emergency, may knock on our door before we even think about it. Or YouTube could take this program down just because they can. I saw a video that I thought was very informative yesterday go away because Google YouTube decided it did not fit their guidance. Yeah. So be aware that happens. Get your emergency plan written. Make an emergency preparedness kit. Make sure you have food storage. Make sure your medical essentials are appropriate for what you need. Make sure you have your medicines and everything you need. Make sure you have personal items that you need. Make sure you have water. Water to drink, water to cook with, and water that you can bathe with, and also water that you can clean with. Not the same water you're going to drink either. I told you how to do that before. Don Patoka here in our chat. The 4 pillars of preparedness are this: people, provisions, protection, and productivity. People, provisions, protection, and productivity. I would show you protection that I have with me 24/7. I don't go anywhere without it. Lately, I don't go anywhere without some kind of protection with me. Always with me 24/7. But I'm telling you folks, get prepared and do it now. Plan, prepare, and be aware. Plan, prepare, and be aware. Okay? Be prepared is just more than a scout motto. It's a lifestyle. And I've been urging for everybody to be prepared for a very, very long time. I've been part of governments. I've been part of agencies. I'm still part of preparedness teams all around this country. And I've been an advisor to governments literally around the world for years now. I'm asking all of you to do what I have been doing and make sure you and your family have what you need and you're prepared. I care about each and every one of you. I care about your families. I care about your neighbors and your friends. That's why I'm here. I have a million other things that I could well be doing. I could be downstairs watching wrestling or watching HGTV Discovery series on people that win a lot of money and find homes to move into. I could be watching a lot of other things, but I'm here trying to help all of you. That's where my heart is, to help all of you. Folks, I'm glad that we have a chat here with our program, because everyone is here getting information for themselves and their families. That's why we're here. We have a Discord channel. Those of my mods here that know what the Discord channel is can put up a link to the Discord channel. That Discord channel is there for you all to talk and share information about preparedness and anything else that you want to talk about. Kramer Wells is in the chat and says, I thought I felt a shower shake in the southern eastern Washington last night. Slight up and down east to west, or west east. Was there any activity around there? Yes. Yes, there was. Guys, I appreciate you being here. Amy Jo says, thank you, Ron. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. God bless you. God bless you and your families. Please, like I said, share this program far and wide. Far and wide. Last night's program had over 1,000 people that watched the program. I'm thankful for that. 643 people last night saw it live. So now we've had over 400 more people see the program since last night. I hope just as many or more people see it tonight. Please, folks, give us a thumbs up. Share this program far and wide. Make sure you watch every minute of this program that's possible. Every minute has absolutely important information that you need. That's why I do this program. Now I want to share one more thing with you before we leave. Tomorrow we won't be on the air unless we have an emergency of some kind. If we have an emergency or disaster someplace, we'll be on the air as soon as we find the information so we can put it out to you. Second, at the end of every program, I give you a spiritual thought, because I think that we also need to be spiritually prepared. Okay? Also, please note our PayPal locations. Rob just put those up here. We have PayPal and Venmo locations. And it's in the top of our program description here tonight. Know those locations. Yes, I would appreciate any and all support that you can give me. I would really appreciate that. Please know that. Also, we will be back on the air on Sunday with a Sunday school class at 12 noon Eastern Time. The Sunday school class is called Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. We're talking about Mark, Luke, and John now. We just got through studying Matthew. Now we're talking about Mark and Luke. We're going to finish Mark this week and go into Luke and John. I love the scriptures. I've been teaching the scriptures and the gospel for a very long time. Folks, this is the thought that I want to give you. This is chapter 1 in Philippians, verse 27. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. I know that to be true. Let's stand tough. Let's stand tall with the gospel. Let's open our mouths and let other people know about our Savior Jesus Christ and how He can help each one of us. Yes, even Jesus Christ can help us in this preparedness mission with our families. You can pray to get inspiration on how you can better prepare you and your families. I know that's the truth. I've seen it. The scriptures here are for divine edification. The scriptures are here to talk about the life and mission of Jesus Christ. And they're here for our learning and for our edification. May God bless you. May God bless you to get yourselves prepared. We don't have much longer. These emergencies and disasters are about to come out of nowhere and swallow the earth that we walk on, literally. May God bless you. May God bless and keep you in the palms of His hands. I know that everything we've told you about tonight is true. And as the scripture I talked about last night says, we haven't come these long distances for nothing. It's to prepare our souls. May God bless you. May God bless you in that you will be prepared to stand in the face of God and Jesus Christ and hear them say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter into my kingdom." That's what I can't wait to hear. God bless you. God be with you. Until we meet again. Have a good night, everybody. I love you dearly. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody.